All right, folks, we're back with you, and we have all the way from New York City, Christopher Martini, which has written and produced and filmed numerous amount of films, and we're lucky enough to have him this morning. Good morning.
Steven, thank you for having me on your show.
I want to talk about a couple of these movies that I'd watched. Now, you've got in the film, of course. Your family, most of your family is from movies and film, and this that you, I guess, kind of runs in the family, right?
That's correct, yes.
But now you've got
My stepfather is, an actor from way back to the Rockford Files, even before that. An old TV actor, his name's Stuart Margolin. He was in.
oh Lord,
He won a couple Emmy Awards on the Rockford Files. He's been in a bunch of old TV shows and movies, and he even had a music career.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And then you got a brother also, which is Max. Am I saying that? Max Martini?
Yeah, that's correct. Max Martini is my brother. His first big role was in a movie called Contact with Jodie Foster, and then that led on to a variety of other roles in Saving Private Ryan and Captain Phillip, 13 Hours.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty good career, as a character actor, and it's kind of funny because he always was in my films. When I was a kid, I was always messing around with a video camera, and we would make these silly home movies, silly comedies.
Right.
In our spare time. We'd make them. I'd shoot them and edit them and direct them. So one day I told him I'm going to use those films to blackmail him.
Now there you go.
Something.
That's thinking ahead. This you got you got this movie that I got to watch. You was lucky enough to let me watch it, but it Trooper, which is it's about veterans who struggle with problems when they come back from the war and this. How did you get tied in with that? I mean, have you been in the military, or is this just something that led you to do this movie, or?
Sure, I'll tell you about that. I did forget to tell you that I have a sister, Michelle, who's a really big costume designer in LA. My sister does wardrobe and costumes, and if you watch football still, if you're watching the Super Bowl, she's usually got a couple commercials that she did the costumes for.
What's her name?
Her name is Michelle Martini. I was always directing. My brother was acting in our little films, and my sister would always, dress all the actors. We had almost a complete film crew.
It led to bigger and better things, obviously.
So Trooper, Trooper was my first feature film about a returning Iraq War veteran. He comes home from war with PTSD and TBI and a pocket full of other physical injuries.
Right.
And he comes home to his father, who's a Vietnam vet, who's dying of Agent Orange, and his brother is still in Iraq. It's a good question how I started to write Trooper. I think that having thought about it, look back on just why I did it. I think that the major thing was September 11th.
Right.
Made me take a closer look at our military, our active duty military, and our veterans, and how we treat them. I'm not afraid to say that September 11th, instilled in me a newfound patriotism that I didn't have before, and it opened my eyes up to a lot of the things that were going on in the world, including veterans issues.
Well, I think that's a big thing. I mean, we do a lot with the veterans around here, and I just feel like they get left behind, when they, get out and fight for your freedom. And then that September 11th thing was just unreal. How many people lost their lives for no reason whatsoever. And it's sad, but that's a cool movie, and I'm glad that you went with that and kind of opened some people's eyes with the PTSD, because a lot of, back in the day when they come back, they didn't say anything about that. It's just like, well, you're going to be all right. But I know people today that's struggling with it, and that was a really, really cool little movie that you got. Now, is it going to be out? I mean, is there going to be people going to be able to see this, or are you trying to get it released, or what's going on with it?
So I shot it a long time ago, and it picked up some awards. It played at festivals. We had some interest from Sundance and Tribeca, but we did get music from Dylan and Springsteen, which is really amazing because they
Yeah.
never do that on such a small movie like ours. We had a distributor. It's actually been a long, painful road.
Right.
The distribution end of Trooper. We had a distributor who, made it available on all platforms for streaming. They never got us a theatrical release. After a few years, I was unhappy with what they were doing, so I took the film back from them. The thing about Trooper is that it's always going to be timely as long as we have veterans who are returning from war who are struggling. So it was never like I could just put it on my shelf.
Right.
So, we screened it for veteran groups all across the country, including World War II vets. We screened it for, Iraq, Afghanistan veterans,
Right.
for the 101st Airborne, for, Gulf War veterans. And the response was amazing. And for that reason, they had never seen a movie that quite, pushed all the buttons. And for that reason alone, we couldn't stop. So, we had to get it seen. So I basically got it into movie theaters myself, and I was starting to do that, and we were booking screenings all across the country, right up until the pandemic.
Oh, man.
Where we would do screenings, half the proceeds would go to veteran groups, and I'd have veterans host the screenings, and they'd use the Q&A after as a platform, as a way to get veterans in the room and talking about what's going on, because I think that is going to be the one thing that helped break the stigma of PTSD, to get people talking. So to make a long story short, I was getting the film into theaters, and then the pandemic hit, and no one was allowed to go to movies and movie theaters, and now I think it's going to be very, very hard to get it back into theaters.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to get to do screenings. So if people want to host a screening, they can contact me on my website at triplemartiniproductions.com. And it's especially helpful if they're partnered with a veteran group, because half the proceeds from the ticket sales could go to them.
That's really good.
So I'm still doing it. I'm still ongoing.
Well, I got a kick out of the Tree of Art. Now, your father is actually an artist, and he was, I guess, is it in Italy? Is that where we're at?
Yeah, my father was a sculptor from Rome, Italy, who came to the United States during the '60s and became an artist, and had a very his art career was a struggle. So I made this film because at 73 years old, he was accepted into the Venice Biennale, which is basically the biggest art show in the world,
right?
To represent Italy. And so I filmed him making this massive sculpture. It was kind of like his Rocky comeback.
Right.
He had 30 days to make this massive sculpture. But my father, this is the funny thing, was one of the biggest painters you could ever imagine. Like, he basically pissed everybody off that he encountered. And my brother
hilarious.
and sister and I went through all this every day of our childhood.
Right.
And so I knew that, like, he would piss somebody off, and he did. He pissed everybody off. They tried to pull him out of the show, but he fought his way into the show. And it's called the Tree of Art because there was a giant tree blocking the view of his sculpture, and he snuck a saw into the Venice Biennale and attempted to well, he did. He cut down the tree. And
yeah, he cut the tree down.
My dad and I pretty much got arrested.
Right.
Almost. Everything outside of being locked up.
That was hilarious. I mean, that was totally hilarious. I mean, because being where he's at and cutting that tree down, I thought, my Lord, this guy right here, he's one of a kind. So
a lot of people actually watch that film. All my films are on Amazon. I think if you put in Trooper and my name and then click on my name, all my films will come up. But that one gets a lot of hits because, it really happened.
Yeah, that was I got tickled. I laughed. I
I
thought, man,
basically filmed show in Italy is what happened.
I'd love to have been there. I guarantee it. So now what else you got coming up? You working on anything now, or are you just trying to stay hid out from all the pandemic and raise the baby?
Well, the baby is the biggest project, and being a filmmaker, I'm actually shooting a documentary on my child growing up, and it's really funny because his baby videos are going to be in 6K, and with Steadicam shots, and
Right.
because his dad's a filmmaker. But what am I doing? Well, 2020 was a big year for me. I was really disturbed by what was happening in politics. So I'm kind of working on projects that are going to focus some attention towards that. I was pretty disturbed by the defund the police movement and all that.
Oh Lord, yeah.
So yeah, and just everything that was going on. So I'm working on a few things that will turn the camera a little bit toward political subjects.
Well, that seems to be the hot topic right now. I guarantee it. So now you can actually stream these movies. Is it on Netflix, you said, or Prime, or which one is it on?
They're all on Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
But I always encourage people to go to the site called Vimeo On Demand. So if you search for Vimeo On Demand, it's Vimeo. It's kind of like a platform like YouTube,
right.
But Vimeo allows filmmakers to sell their movies on their platform,
right.
and they don't take as much of a cut as Amazon does.
Right.
So, if you're supporting independent filmmakers, go to Vimeo On Demand and see if the films are there. All of my films are there. You could probably search Triple Martini Production. And, most of the proceeds go to the filmmaker. They're very good about supporting the filmmaker when
good.
Amazon pretty much robs you.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to check this out, you go to triplemartini.com. I love your last name, man. I'm telling you, I get thirsty every time I hear it.
Well, when I see you, I'll definitely make you a nice martini, and I think I know how you like it. You told me.
There you go.
So it's actually triplemartiniproductions.com.
Okay, Triple Martini Productions. Well, man, I sure appreciate your time, and we get everybody to check these movies out and be looking for more coming out, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I hope you, the people listening, will check it out. I think we really need to support filmmakers right now, and especially the censorship going on, that it's going to become increasingly difficult to make films for the segment of the country that we're speaking to. And so I think we really need to support people in the arts, because our voices are being silenced right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, you heard it right here. We got to get to a break, and I sure appreciate Chris calling in. And we'll get you back on, talk about, see what else is going on, if that works.
Stephen, thanks so much. Appreciate it.